Path of Exile. You mean the game with that ridiculously overpriced MTX store? Well, yeah, they're kind of expensive. You mean the game we need a PhD to understand anything that's going on? Well, you don't really need one. You mean the game with the skill tree? Yeah, that's the one. No thanks, I'm good. This one do more damage, so I put it on. In all seriousness though, all of those things, as truthful or untruthful as they may or may not be, are all a part of the stigma that Path of Exile carries. The stigma of being some overcomplicated mess of a game that you shouldn't even bother wasting your time on if you don't have hours upon hours of each day and hundreds of dollars to devote to it. I'm here to tell you that is not the case. Are the MTX a bit on the steep end? Sure, but they're all cosmetic, except for stash tabs. Is the skill tree big and potentially intimidating to newer players? Yep, it's by design and is meant to be a glimpse into the game's depth. Do you need a PhD to understand the game's fundamentals? No, but you'll definitely need to pay attention to what you're doing if you plan on making a successful character. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying PoE is a piece of cake to pick up. My point is that if you're one of the people who's been intimidated by the game's difficulty or really just by anything you've heard about it, you should not let that dissuade you from giving it a shot. Path of Exile is absolutely worth your time. Perhaps the largest complaint I hear leveled against PoE is that there's just too much going on all at once that new players can't reasonably grasp it all. Yes, there is an absolute butt ton of content. That's a scientific measurement, trust me. And yes, there was a point in time where Path of Exile's new player experience, or lack thereof, did nothing to help, but coming into PoE as a new player nowadays couldn't be much better. As soon as you launch the game and log in for the first time, you'll instantly see what I'm talking about. And by the way, did I mention this game is 100% free to play? Huh, what's this? A bunch of banners. Well, this one is blue and that one's red. And oh, look, there's another blue and red one. But which one do I choose? Oh, I see. Challenge leagues. Well, I heard this game is already tough enough. I don't really want an extra challenge on top of, oh, it's the default league. Okay, I guess I'll choose this one. And once you actually start playing, you'll have full-fledged tutorials to guide you through the basics. And if you want even more details, there's an entire codex for you to browse that gives you all of the information you could possibly need. Now, all of this does require you to do a bit of reading and to pay attention to what's going on when all you'll want to be doing is killing stuff. But hey, this is what people mean when they say PoE is a complex game. You just have to pay attention. Is it possible to get good results from brute forcing your way through the game as a beginner and never reading a single thing? Absolutely. Trial and error is a key component of the game. But if you want to avoid getting absolutely butt blasted once Act 3 comes around, again, another scientific measurement, you got to do at least a little research into what's going on, just a teeny bit, or, you know, follow a build guide. But enough about reading and learning and all this other crap. What's the incentive? Why should I even bother getting into PoE, Mr. Streamer, when all you've told me is how much I need to learn? Because the sheer amount of content in this game, the level of control you have over what you want to do, and the replayability it offers you is absolutely massive. Want to make a basic sword and board or dual swords melee guy? How about throwing traps out and having enemies trigger them for massive chain reactions? Maybe you like bow and arrows, but also have an affinity for burning things to the ground. Or maybe you just like fire a little too much. Path of Exile lets you do it all. And yes, of course, there is a spin to win build. Like, come on, what kind of game do you think this is, huh? The possibilities you have when making your character are all but endless. Any wacky or weird idea you may have can be made into an eventual reality, and this is one of, if not the major draw for players, the theory crafting. If you are drawn at all to optimizing a build, crunching numbers, or min-maxing, PoE is your wet dream. Seriously. But Mr. Streamer, I don't like numbers, they scare me. I'm just here to kill stuff and get cool loot. Aha, I'm with you, fellow viewer. I too enjoy some dank loot. And don't you worry, PoE has got plenty of it. You may think you played games with an emphasis on loot, Diablo, Destiny, Risk of Rain 2, whatever it is, but I can guarantee that you have not seen loot like in Path of Exile. I mean, the game places such a large emphasis on loot that the current 4-month challenge league, Harvest, was built entirely around loot and crafting in general. That is the level of dedication the game and therefore the players have to the loot in Path of Exile. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's take this regular old amulet here, just a plain amulet, nothing special. As with many RPGs, loot is tiered based upon rarity, so I can upgrade this normal amulet into a magic one with the transmutation orb. Then, if I don't like the new modifiers, I can re-roll them with an alteration orb, and I can repeat this until I'm satisfied, but oops, I only rolled one modifier when a magic item can have up to 2, so I'll just add another one here with an orb of augmentation. Ah, there we go. This is looking like a snack right now. My build needed both evasion rating and mana on kill. Said absolutely literally nobody ever. All right, now let's upgrade the amulet from magic rarity to the next level, which is rare. Ooh, I wonder what's gonna happen. Bam! Toss a regal on that bad boy. Rare items can have up to 6 modifiers instead of only 2, so this amulet's potential just got increased significantly. All right, all attributes. Not too shabby, but oops, I just remembered I needed life on kill and not mana. Silly me. Now I'll use an orb of scouring to remove all the modifiers and revert the item back to normal. And instead of doing the whole magic thing, let's just turn it into a rare immediately with an orb of alchemy. I think you get the idea here. There's a way to turn any item you want into basically whatever you want it to be. And holy moly, can some of these items get nutty. If you don't like crafting things, then don't worry. You do not have to craft all of your gear from scratch. You'll get plenty of items as drops that will be randomly rolled, and eventually you'll find some good stuff. But what happens when you find an item that looks good but doesn't really fit into your character? Yup, that's right. Path of Exile is an online game, meaning you can trade with other players. Did you just find a sick item that you don't want to keep? You can sell it for some money. And by the way, I should mention here that gold does not exist in Path of Exile. Rather, the currency you use to trade are actually the various crafting orbs, with the Chaos Orb being the gold standard. Yeah, I wasn't kidding about how much loot matters in this game. For most players, trading is where you will acquire the bulk of your items on a given character. There is solo self-found mode if finding and crafting everything yourself is more your style, but for the rest of us non-degenerates, I'm kidding, we've got some good old bartering to do. As a new player, it would be in your best interest to start paying attention to which types of items roll which types of modifiers and which combinations of those modifiers make the item good. These are the stats like life on jewelry and armor, damage on weapons, etc. Start paying attention to the modifiers on stuff as you go, because you can accumulate a lot of wealth over the course of a league if you learn to price things correctly. Like, take a look here at my store tab from a few leagues ago. It is almost entirely full, and every single item in here is listed for some pretty significant value. Now, I show you this not to brag. Bragging about pixels, that's pretty cringe, dude. But rather to show and hopefully excite you to what grinding can lead to in Path of Exile. And speaking of grinding, finally, let's talk about some gameplay. If you've been watching the background footage at all, that's pretty much what PoE is. Kill stuff, pick up loot, sell the crappy stuff to vendors, bank whatever's left, rinse and repeat. On the surface, that's just the bare bones to any good ARPG, right? Combat, loot, and a reason to grind. Path of Exile just kind of takes those core elements and builds upon them further. When you start, you'll have to complete the 10-act campaign. Yes, 10, before you reach the end game. Along the way, you'll slowly be introduced to the many pieces of content and system that PoE has to offer, such as strongboxes, essences, bestiaries, blah, 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 while also experiencing the story of the world. But don't worry if you're starting to get intimidated. Your main goal is to just kill stuff, nothing special. As you're killing stuff, you'll be gaining experience, and eventually you'll level up, opening up more and more options for you to progress your character as you fill out the passive tree. You'll find some weird looking trials, which once all completed, grant access to the labyrinth, where you'll choose to ascend your character into their own unique subclass. You'll find new base types of items with higher and better modifiers to roll, and remember, you're still really just running around and killing stuff. All of these things happen on top of PoE's gameplay, which is why the game is just so addictive once you get into it. It has layer after layer of content and progression that just keeps fueling the fire under you to keep going. And man, are the results satisfying once you reach new breakpoints. For example, here in the Harvest League, I reached the end game, which is called mapping, and only found a maximum of 4 links during the campaign to use with my skills. Also, I just kind of realized that I never explained the skills or links in depth, but hey, you'll figure this stuff out real quick as a new player, don't worry. I got my first 4 link around level 20, and now I'm in the 80s. At this point, I am way overdue for an upgrade, so I say screw it and take the few fusing orbs that I have to try and link my weapon, and what do you know, the literal first fusing hits a 5 link, which is about a 1 in 100 chance of happening. And not only was it lucky to get that 5 link, it's also a huge tangible upgrade for my character, as I can now add another support gem to my primary skill, which almost doubles its overall damage. Yeah, those are the satisfying results I'm talking about. Around every corner, with every monster you slay, and for every piece of loot that drops, there's always that chance that it could be the perfect outcome for you and totally change or upgrade a certain aspect of your gameplay. The numerous intricacies that people often use to degrade Path of Exile for being too complex are actually what makes it so appealing in the first place. Sure, you'll eventually reach the point in your PoE experience where you feel like you're just mindlessly grinding for no real reason, but I can guarantee that as a new player, you will not reach that point for a long time. So give Path of Exile a shot. I promise it'll be worth the time and effort it takes to get comfortable with the game, and hey, it may even be fun to figure stuff out. What are your thoughts? Are you still going to avoid PoE like the plague? Let me know with a like or dislike on the video and a comment below. You can check out my stream at twitch.tv/WoolieGaming and consider joining our Discord server as well. Thank you for watching.